break, we said goodbye to 2 mayors and we say welcome to 2 more. And they're from Southern Africa. As we say, a very good morning and welcome to the Mayor of Windhoek in Namibia, Mayor Moise Kazapua. Thank you very much indeed for joining us and welcome. You must be one of the youngest mayors on the continent. So you have lots of energy.
Correct. Thank you.
And to Mayor Benito Jones, the Mayor of Mbabane in Swaziland, thank you very much for joining us and welcome to you.
It's a pleasure.
Okay, so you might have one of the smaller cities, but certainly the challenges are the same, aren't they?
Of course, yes. The challenges are very enormous. Perhaps the little space you have, the bigger challenges that you experience. The previous mayor have spoken about urbanization, something that we are all grappling with as cities. We are experiencing a huge influx of people from our rural areas. Mbabane particularly is surrounded by a heavy rural space where we experience a lot of people coming in to seek jobs in our city. So we experience one of the challenges that we have to have a very vibrant business mechanism so we can be able to provide that little job services that we can for our rural communities which surround our urban periphery.
Mayor Kazapua, I've been to Windhoek a couple of times, and one of the things that strikes me when I compare to a lot of the cities around the continent, you're fairly modern actually, fairly developed, very advanced, and so I guess you can start to have conversations about green economies and climate change. Is that happening in your city? Are citizens having this conversation in your city?
Yeah, basically the citizens are having that conversation in the sense that, Windhoek being a capital city of Namibia, and we are moving towards this, 21st century where you need to have smart cities, where you need to provide strategic leadership in terms of trying to address the issues of climate change. You address the issues of pollution and all these aspects that accompany them, and also green economy, because obviously you need to have those concepts and so on. And previously, as you have already alluded to that, you have been in Windhoek, and those are most of the concepts that we are trying to reintroduce, apart from the challenges that are facing us back home, is like any other African countries, like when it comes to urbanizations, because issues surrounding the informal settlement are becoming more than or higher than the formal ones.
All right, so Kobe, how do we build second cities? Because it seems to me that this is the answer where, we've got Joburg and Tshwane, but we probably need Centurion to be bigger. We need cities beyond Worcester, beyond Cape Town to be bigger, so that we're not having the same cities, Lagos getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and surrounding cities. What is the conversation that's happening?
Yeah, I think in the context of Africa specifically, where we look at urbanization rates uncomparable to other parts of the world except for Asia, it is in fact our smaller city that is growing at a more rapid rate than our big urban metros. And that's all over Africa, actually, a manifestation. We know of cities that are doubling and tripling their populations within decades. And it is at that secondary city level where the opportunities also for making better choices and for making more informed decisions, I think, is the greatest. So a lot of our emphasis is actually on taking examples from what work in metros and working then with those cities that are growing the fastest. In terms of economic opportunities, and if we talk about the green economy, I think in the African context it's very important to talk about inclusive economy, green inclusive economy. And when you talk about that, it's not about a different economy than the real economy. It's the real economy making smarter choices, making choices around procurement, and this is where cities play a big role, because cities are big procurers of fleets of goods and services, making choices in tender procedures, for instance, that speak to inclusivity, that speak to green and clean technology, green energy options, green solutions, etc. So it's not something out there, and it's not something that we shouldn't be talking about unless we reach a certain level of sophistication. It is exactly for those cities that are now building and shaping something that they need to grapple with and seize the opportunity. And on climate change, I think it's important to say that climate change may be a big basket word as well. But what African cities need to do much more is to understand what it means in the local context. We have a lot of analysis that will tell you what the trends are, and we know that climate change leads to greater variability. So in one season, in 1 year, a city could actually experience severe drought and severe flooding at the same time. Well, not at the same time, but within months of each other. And it's that downgraded data and understanding what it means for the local community that needs to happen at a more refined scale. And some of our cities are already busy doing that, and we would like to encourage everybody at a city level to understand and contextualize it locally.
All right, we'll explore the idea, because often you hear people suggesting that it's costs too much to do these green choices, but there is a case for them, and a real business case, particularly in Africa, where we have an opportunity to go that route from scratch. But we'll explore that. Let's go back to our tables. Table number 2, I think, we'll find Peter Ndoro, who's got a lovely first name. Peter Ndoro.
Thank you. My question goes to the Mayor of Namibia. How can we make waste management sustainable in our cities? And then the second question goes to the Mayor of Tshwane. That how can we make the cities, these upcoming cities like Juba City, supported so that they can also reach the level of the other cities? Thank you.
Okay, so waste management, that's a whole other area as well, area of discussion.
Yeah, no, thank you so much. I think Namibia has a very important best practice when it comes to waste management. And as I have already alluded yesterday, that previously we used to be known as a cleanest city, if not in the world, in Africa, but then last time we were beaten by Bengali. And I think we are looking forward to challenge them with regard to that. But probably in terms of the best model that we are having is a static case where we can also share more details in information that we can benchmark from the side of, because the technology that we have also introduced that inform well-grafted waste management, and probably we are also talking about recycling some of this waste and littering and so on, because obviously those are some of the concepts that can also be a best practice for those countries that are affected with waste management and so on.
Okay, man.
Just a comment on the waste is that I think with the advent of technologies, that waste is a new currency. Because innovation allows you to convert waste into energy and electricity, if you like. And that's why we are converting many of our landfill sites to be able to accommodate this new technology, so that from what we had previously considered as waste is now an input into energy going forward, and we are able to make it affordable. I think the point you made earlier on, there's a big problem of energy poverty. Electricity is available, but people can't afford it. So once you are able to use innovation, you are able to make it cheaper and therefore accessible, and the penetration of connectivity with regards to electricity becomes higher. We have been able to move it now into households. Over 91% have got access to electricity. On the question raised specifically to me, is that The advantage that Juba has is what in planning we call it a last move advantage. So you are able to not repeat the mistakes of those who have done it before you. And I guess that's what this platform does. The first thing that we have said is very useful is that at the planning level, macro planning level, and I'm talking city level, I'm not talking at the level of a sovereign, your policy interventions must be deliberate. So issues around the concentration and how you provide bulk services and connectivity must direct development. What has been the problem in the past is that we've been following developers. So developers will make application, I want to go there, we follow them. So we say, no, that's not the right way of doing it. We will direct them where to go. And how do you do it? Through deliberate policy interventions. We say that we are going to provide bulk in this area. And inevitably, they'll have to go into that area because we need water and electricity for development to happen. So that's the first part. The second part is that our cities have been built on the back of designing a city for a car. So you can't design yourself out of congestion. So you must design a city for public transport so that you are able to move people, transition them from private car usage into a mass public transport that is reliable, affordable, safe, and efficient. That's the second advantage you'll have. The other one is urban management design. I mean, it is important that you design the city for walking and for cycling. So I'm saying that for cities that are coming on board, you have a last move advantages, learning and unlearning from those who have done mistakes before you and those who have excelled, and take the best out of it and put it into one basket. And in that way, I think you are likely going to thrive. And that's what this platform provides.
Last move advantage. I like that. Brilliant. Table 6, we'll find Sakina Siabi. Table 6. Sakina Siabi. Was it Shekina?
Shekina.
Shekina, sorry.
Thank you, Program Director. Morning. My question is, what are interventions from the city to open up and assist the youth initiatives in the green economy space in terms of incubating them and so that they learn? And the second one is there an opportunity in the city of Tshwane for solar energy plant? Thank you.
All right, I'm just going to repeat what he said for our viewers at home because the microphone wasn't picking up. But for the question was interventions for this from the city of Tshwane in particular to assist youth initiatives in the green economy, and the second one, solar energy plant opportunities within the city of Tshwane as well.
Well, thanks. I had said earlier on that one of the advantages that we have, and I suggest is across the continent, is that we've got the most youthful population. So in the city of Tshwane, of the 3.5 million so inhabitants, 66% of them are young. So they are 35 years and younger. So it's important that we are able to exploit the demographic dividend by investing in reskilling young people. So one of the things that we suggest we want to do is to contribute towards sunrise industries. And these sunrise industries, exactly the point is making around the green economy. So what is green? One is that I said earlier on, we want to use waste to using existing technology to convert it to generate the electricity and energy going forward. So there are people who are established in that space. So it is important that through our work that we are doing in the city of Tshwane called Tsepo 10,000, these are young people between the age groups of 21 and 35 years of age, 10,000 of them through a collaboration with University of Pretoria and ABSA. We have taken them through training, and subsequently they then set up their cooperatives, that some of them will be then incubated into enterprises that are more established in that space, so that we're able to expose them to some of the skills that are there, so that going forward on their own, they are able to seize the opportunities. I mean, there's work that we're doing with BMW, what we call Bio to Art, where indeed we're able to use existing innovation. BMW is able to meet about 30% of its base load in its Roslyn plant, and that makes the cost of producing cars in the country cheaper because they are using renewable energy. 30% of their input there is off the grid. So these are some of the interventions we are making. With regards to solar, we have approved a 20 megawatt plant in the Rooiwal area for the generation of energy using solar. I mean, we are well endowed on the African continent. I was reading an article the other day that Germany has got in terms of its totality of its energy mix, there's a significant proportion that is coming from renewable energy, in particular solar. When in fact they've got, in terms of their number of days, about 20% they've got sunlight. When in fact on the continent, I suggest it could be anything upward of 70%. And clearly we are not exploiting those endowments. We are sitting at 20 megawatts. It can be substantially higher. I'm talking about the city. There's a lot that is happening across the country, and we want to scale that up so that we address the question of energy poverty. People who are in formal settlements are able to have access to electricity, to energy, using new technology, new innovations. We are migrating from fossil fuels and using cleaner technology.
All right. Ambassador Jones, I'm going to ask you this question. It's come from someone who calls himself ambassador. Maybe it's his ambitions, I'm not sure. But they said that you as mayors must focus your energies on providing eco-mobility infrastructure to reduce GHG emissions and traffic congestion. Is this something that you're seeing in Mbabane, and is this something you're seeing in Windhoek?
Of course, yes. We are, as cities, one of the key focuses of us meeting here, it is to migrate to green energy, as the audience is talking about, try new initiatives of ensuring that our environment is sustainable for the future generation. So we are looking at the issues of solar systems. Our traffic lights no longer have to use electricity. We are looking at better ways of greening our cities and ensuring that the water usage is no longer as tough or as rapid as it is now, looking at the issues of drought. We are currently in the SADC region experiencing tough drought, so we need to use our water in a manner that is sustainable for us going forward.
I think partly I also wanted to touch on the issues that, which is also quite a challenge in African continent and also a challenge to us as this platform, whether in our respective cities does we have policies that address issues when it comes to the youth development or aspirations when it comes to youth development. And probably when you are referring to the issues that was already raised by a green economy, because we are having new technologies, and some of this technology might be the solutions to the drought that we are facing now. And I think probably partly we might agree in the Southern Africa or in the entire African continent that previously we did not get much rain. But then probably out of that we can also create employment opportunity. But then the drawing points will go back to the policy. Does we really have policies that are conducive, that will create an opportunity for a young person in those respective cities? Because if we are talking about, they are the ones that are majorities in that regard. And the other initiative that we have in place when it comes to the questions intervention is that probably we have launched last year, we have launched a sustainable transport master plan. That is a master plan that informs when you are planning the city ahead, as we are facing challenges when it comes to, especially back home, early in the morning for me to go to my office. It takes me a couple of hours, probably due to traffic conjunction and all these issues when it comes to the pedestrians, where people are having conducive environment when it comes to our transportations planning strategy that we have in place. Those are issues that we really need to integrate and then engage with others and also share a best practice. Maybe we can have a benchmark of how does Tswane address that issues. Probably those are some of the engagement that we really need to discuss. Thank you.
Okay, all right. And we are seeing a lot of innovations in Johannesburg and Pretoria particularly, and also Cape Town. We're seeing more and more kind of changing and shifting of the way people get to work. Are people taking it up? Because, you know, in Africa, part of affluence is driving a nice car.
Yes.
How do we change that mindset and get people to catch a bus or catch a train?
Well, I must say that there's great resistance, as you have indicated. I mean, one of the symbols of upward mobility is the type of car that you drive. I mean, you just have to be on the major arterials, on the N1, Zambezi, Sefako Makhato, and see that there's single passengers in every car. And that's why I said earlier on, you can't build yourself out of congestion. I guess there are two ways of doing it. The first one is through policy intervention. So it's a deliberate policy of the city of Tshwane that we are going to design our roads to accommodate, to give privilege rather, or preference to public transport. And that's why when we introduce Arieng, our localized version of the BRT, we have dedicated lanes. You get to an intersection, we give priority to a bus. You'll remain standing there and the bus will pass you so that you can see that in fact you are better off being in that bus. You are able to get to your workplace or your destination quicker. So we penalize private car usage. I mean, we go to the Lanewood area, we are trying to extend the Arieng network footprint. There's resistance from that community to say, no, but you can't take an additional lane away from us. We need that lane. But we are saying that the poor don't have that choice. As affluent people, you have a choice. You have a choice of using your car or you have a choice of using public transport. So I'm just saying it's through a policy intervention. And the second one is just about education. What does it mean when we reduce the amount of traffic on the road? Is that it's good for posterity. One, emissions gets to be reduced significantly. Two is that there's a greater benefit to the economy because you spend less time traveling and therefore you are able to, well, the assumption is that will increase the productivity. And thirdly is that you are able to improve your quality of life. I mean, just go to an average household that is in Hammanskraal, far-flung areas of the city. People have to leave the home at 6, so you must have woken up at 5, prepared yourself to go to work somewhere in Centurion. And when you come back, you arrive 8 in the evening. So you leave when the kids are sleeping, you arrive when the kids are sleeping. So they only see you at the weekend. You are their father, but they refer you as Uncle, yes, Uncle Peter, because they hardly see you. Who's this fellow? Yes, yes. So I'm just saying, just the quality of life, the amount of time that you are able to spend with your family, it enhances, and therefore everyone becomes happy.
Okay, we need to get out of our cars. All right, so we'll continue to explore this. Loyiso is going to be asking a question right after this break. Stay with us.